What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 229. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Ryan LaFlare versus Tony Martin. And to me, Tony Martin's probably a little bit better of a striker, but I think overall, I think Ryan LaFlare is just the bigger, better grappler. I think he's really good at getting fights to the ground, really good at controlling them there. I don't think he'll be able to finish Tony Martin, but I do think he'll be able to consistently get this fight to the ground. And when he does, I think he's just going to control it for 3 rounds. So I got Ryan LaFlare winning a 30-27 decision. Next, we got Gray Maynard versus Nick Lentz, and to me, I just feel like Nick Lentz has more in the tank at this point. I think, he's shown that he can be out-wrestled. He's been out-wrestled a bunch of times, and Gray Maynard's probably the better wrestler overall, but I just feel like Gray doesn't look as good as he used to be. I think his striking and grappling overall aren't as good as they used to be. I think Nick Lentz might even catch him in a guillotine sooner or later. But I just feel like I said, I think Nick Lentz has just looked really good. He's lost a couple, but he's still beating really good guys. And I think he's either going to catch him with a punch or catch him with that guillotine. But I think sooner or later Nick Lentz is going to get the finish, probably in like the second or third round. Next is Lena Landsberg versus Yana Kunitskaya. And to me, Yana's just a decent striker going up against a great striker. I think Lena's just the much better striker. I don't think this fight's going to hit the ground. Yana could get to the ground. If she does, I think she's the better grappler overall, but she's just not great at getting it there. And I think Lena's just going to keep it on the feet and outstrike her for 3 rounds. Next, we got Scott Holtzman versus Alan Patrick, and to me, this is basically just who's the better wrestler and who's got the better conditioning. It's tough to tell who's got the better wrestling. It's probably Scott, but overall, they could be pretty close. I don't think either of these guys are amazing strikers, but they're both decent. But I do think Scott has a huge advantage in conditioning, and I feel like as long as he can push the pace, he should be able to edge out a pretty close decision, but I'm just leaning towards Scott. I think he's definitely got the conditioning advantage, and as long as the wrestling's about close, which I think it will be, I think he just wears him down and eventually just gets a real close decision. Next, we got Aspen Ladd versus Tanya Evinger, and I feel like Aspen Ladd's a really big favorite, but I don't know why. I feel like even though she's undefeated, she hasn't been anyone super impressive in my opinion. I feel like Tanya has been a lot of good people, and she's fought a lot of good people. I think Tanya's got a big advantage wrestling-wise, and I think that if she can continuously kind of fight this fight like how she did against Cyborg, I think she can win. I think if she fights like a slow-paced fight and just, takes her down when she needs to, I think she'll be able to win this fight pretty easily. So I got Tanya winning by decision, just hitting the takedowns when she needs to and getting those points. Next, we got Vicente Luque versus Jillian Turner. I don't know much about Jillian Turner. To me, he just seems like he's okay. I think Vicente's got the advantages everywhere in grappling. Jillian's basically just a striker. I think that as soon as Vicente decides to take this to the ground, he'll win by submission. Like I said, I think there's a huge advantage for Vicente on the ground in every situation, so that's why I'm leaning. I think Vicente eventually gets him down, locks up a front choke or something like that. He's really good at that, and he just chokes him out. Next, we got Sergio Pettis versus Jussier Formiga, and striking-wise, Pettis has a big advantage, but I think grappling-wise, Jussier has an even bigger advantage. I think that Jussier, as long as he can kind of stalk Pettis and eventually get that takedown, I think he's going to win. I think that if he can get this to the ground, he should be able to, just dominate Pettis. Pettis, to me, has not shown impressive ground game. He's got a decent guard and decent defensive game, but his takedown defense has gotten better too. But I just feel like sooner or later, Jussier is going to get that takedown. And once he does, he's just going to take his back and submit him. I mean, if Pettis can stuff the takedowns for 3 rounds, he'll win, but I just don't see it happening. I think sooner or later, Jussier is going to take it down and win by rear naked choke. Next, we got Michelle Waterson versus Felice Herring, and to me, Felice has looked better and better every fight. And to me, Michelle Waterson, I don't know what it is. She's always been small for this weight class, but for some reason, she just looks smaller every fight. She's looked decent, but I just feel like Felice is way bigger than her. I think that Felice has a good enough ground game where she can keep up with Michelle, and I think that if they're on the feet, Felice just is bigger and hits harder. Michelle's probably got the better striking game overall, but I think that Felice is just like the bigger, stronger girl, and as long as she keeps moving forward, she'll eventually wear Michelle down and just, I don't know if she'll finish her, but I think she'll get the decision. I think it's going to be kind of like the Tecia Torres fight, maybe a little bit closer, but I do think Felice Herring's going to edge out at least a split decision. I think Felice Herring just moves forward on her consistently, tires Michelle out a little bit, and eventually wins by decision. Next, we got Derek Lewis versus Alexander Volkov, and to me, this is all about range. If Alexander can keep this on the outside, he should be able to win pretty easily, and if Derek Lewis can get this into a brawl, it could go either way. But I feel like Derek Lewis hasn't been super impressive as of late. I just feel like, since his back injury, his last 2 fights, he got that close 3rd round knockout against what's his face, where he was losing but then knocked him out. And then against Francis Ngannou, neither guy really did anything. He was just throwing more. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Volkov. I think Volkov's going to throw a lot of jabs and teeps and stuff like that. And I don't know if Volkov will finish him, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is like the Travis Brown fight minus the comeback, where Volkov is just landing body kicks and eventually just puts Derek Lewis down with those body kicks. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think Volkov is able to stay on the outside and just hit him to the body with long strikes and eventually win by TKO from that. Next, we got OSP versus Dominic Reyes. And to me, OSP, I don't know what it is, but he's been getting dropped a lot recently. I don't know why his striking defense isn't very good, but it just isn't. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Dominic Reyes is eventually going to find that gap in his striking and knock him out. I mean, if OSP takes this to the ground, which he should, then I think he could probably dominate this fight. But the problem is he doesn't really take fights to the ground unless he needs to, unless he's like super dominant there, or if he like absolutely needs to. He likes to strike, and I feel like that's going to be the problem. I think Dominic is a little bit better of a striker, and even though he's only a little bit better, like I said, OSP for some reason has been super hittable as of late, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think Dominic finds the hole in, OSP's defense and knocks him out, and that's what I got. I got Dominic winning by first round KO. Next, we got Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis, and Anthony Pettis looked good in his last fight, but overall he's still on a downward slope, and I think Tony Ferguson is still on an upward slope. Tony Ferguson's won like 8 or 9 straight, and I don't see anything changing in this fight. I think Tony just puts combinations together better. I mean, Pettis has got the better kicks, but I think overall striking-wise, Tony's better. I think, wrestling-wise, Tony's probably better too. Grappling, they're probably about even, but I just think that Tony has been looking amazing recently, and I think his boxing's going to outpoint Pettis' kicks. And I think that, I don't know if he'll finish him, but I think that even if he needs to, if he takes this to the ground, I think he's got the advantage there just because, like I said, their overall grappling game is probably even, but Tony's just the better wrestler, and I think he'll be able to get top position when he needs to. And this is what I see happening. I think Tony either wins a decision or gets like a late third round TKO. Finally, we got Khabib versus Conor. And this one, to me, I know most people have been saying this, but I really do think it's one of two things. I think it's either Conor catches him really early or Khabib just kicks the crap out of him until he finishes him. It's one of those two things. It's either going to be like the Aldo fight where Conor catches him like right in the first couple minutes, or Khabib's just going to take him down and whoop his ass. Like, I don't really see too many different ways this fight goes down. And I think more likely Khabib's just going to do that because Conor hasn't fought in like 2 years. His last fight was a boxing fight where there was no grappling. I mean, he's definitely got better foot movement and striking than a lot of the guys that Khabib has fought, but I really don't think it's going to matter. I think that, like I said, unless he catches him with a clean punch first, which can happen, he's got that type of power and that type of movement and shit, but it's one of those things where the vast majority of the time, I think what happens is Khabib clinches him up, takes him down, and just kicks the crap out of him. I mean, like I said, Chad Mendes has done this to him, and I feel like Khabib's done this to everybody he's fought. He's fought great wrestlers and strikers. He did it to Edson Barboza. He did it to Michael Johnson. He did it to Ali Quinta. And I think all those guys had better wrestling than Conor overall. Like, Conor might have better takedown defense, but I think overall those guys were better wrestlers. And I'm going to lean towards Khabib. Like I said, I think that he doesn't get clipped. I think he gets it to the ground, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a first-round submission. I think that once he's on top, he's just going to beat on him for the whole round. Like, once he's on top, like, he just lays the ass whooping down on people, and I just don't think Conor's going to survive that. I think it's going to be a first-round rear naked choke for Khabib. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.